Hello everybody, Anna Sabramwitz here, your interactive storytelling coach. How are you doing? Welcome, another week, another chance to change the world. All right, so today what I'm going to talk about is battling the status quo. I have a solid story for you. You guys are going to love it because it's true and it's something that I've been through. But it's something that I think that over time, when you look at these really challenging situations about when you're trying to introduce new ideas and they get shot down, what that feels like in the moment, but also how you can overcome that. Because I see this every day. I talk to people every day. They're frustrated with the way their organization is, the direction they're moving in, how slowly some of them are moving in, how resistant they are to new ideas and innovations. And let me tell you, there's actually a way to overcome this. And it has, and it's not very intuitive, but also it's kind of interesting how some of these situations actually need to happen for us to have our very own rebellion and epiphany around what makes great learning. All right, so if that sounds cool, then stick around because I'm going to get into it. Today's going to be a fun one because, baby, it's all about stories, and that's what I love to do, right? So enjoy. Now, if you're visiting from wherever you're visiting from, you better say hi in the chat. I love to see where you guys are from. Now, the other thing I want to hear from you is, have you ever faced resistance sharing your new ideas, and how did you overcome that resistance? Because I think that a lot of us have a tendency to say, hey, I was against these immeasurable odds. I couldn't actually, I couldn't do anything. My hands were tied, right? So let me tell you a story. Back when I was a fledgling instructional designer, I got hired by this organization, and it was like a team of us, right? And we were led by a senior instructional designer. And it was pretty intimidating for me because I got in there on my own, interesting ideas and seriously just a positive attitude and a willingness to learn. I didn't have a master's in instructional design. Everybody else did. Raised some eyebrows. But what we do is we were just getting into e-learning. We were just converting really a lot of our resources into the online space. So it was really cool. And we would have these weekly meetings. And during the weekly meetings, somebody would be like in charge of bringing up like a really cool demo that we had seen out there in the world, right? And one of the demos that really inspired me, and then I later just dug into that world, was Michael Allen's basically anything that he put together. And at that time, I think what he had launched was this one interactive experience where a truck driver, it was really simple but really cool, a truck driver would, you have to teach them to stop at like crossroads that had rail lines, or depending on what the lights or the signs were saying, you had to basically drive the truck depending on what was in front of you and noticing those signs. So it was very cool, immersive experience, and I thought, this is awesome. This is amazing, right? We're looking at this in our sessions, and we're just like high-fiving. We're like, this is cool. I can't believe this is happening, right? This is the kind of stuff we're going to do. We're so excited. So we leave that room with just a whole bunch of like excitement and like this, like, wow. By the way, guys, this is like over a decade ago, right? So think back to what the stuff that we're still putting together. So it's almost like 20 years ago. Jesus. Anyways, so we walk out of that room and we're all just jazzed and pumped, right? And my lead ID picks up my copy of Michael Allen's e-learning book. Mine still came with a CD-ROM, you guys. And this is what this person said. They said, yeah, that's good for the demos, right? It's cool for that in that room. But this is not the kind of stuff we do around here. And I was like, are you kidding me? Why are we lying? Why are we exploring all these opportunities, getting revved up, strategizing how we're going to implement them, brainstorming all these ideas, and then basically when we come back to our desk, it's like, okay, what's the modus operandi, right? What are we doing again that's the same? Because we don't want to push any boundaries because it's uncomfortable. And one of the craziest things, and for me, I was like intimidated. I was like, I'm new here, and these people know better. They've got all these masters, right? They must know. But I thought, there's no way, because, you know, at that point, when Michael Allen was releasing his books, I thought, I'm going to learn from the best. And when I looked at his demos, I was like, this guy is pushing the envelope and I want to learn from him. So I bought all his books. I bought them for myself. And then I realized that the only way I was really going to be able to explore in that world creatively and push myself personally is to actually get my own license of Articulate Presenter and start tweaking around and building things in there. I just recently, it's so weird, the things you hold on to, but you know these things are meaningful to you, because what I did is I exported them onto these CD-ROMs, and I just recently threw the CD-ROMs away because I was like, Anna, it's time to let go. It's time to let go. But that's how much they meant to me. Like, those were my first little baby e-learning modules that I used the strategies that I saw him use and in my limited way try to replicate in that online world, right? Super cool. And so, but what's kind of cool, and I want you to think about this, is that right now, what I feel towards those people, the people that said no, the people who all of my creative ideas had to be vetted by, and imagine my success rate, right? But that was actually something I'm super, super grateful for now. Absolutely. And there's a reason for this. So it's interesting. I've been reading the book, Human Nature by Robert Greene. And he said, one of the things that he said is that your parents are supposed to be the kinds of, in some ways, oppressive, right? They're supposed to be, they represent the old way, right? They represent the old status quo. And this is so important because that is really, really good for you to have a rebellion against. You need something to rebel against. So the rules, their thinking, their dogma, all the things that they think about, those are all old school things. And your goal, your job is to rebel against those things, because that's how you come up with new ideas, right? You're supposed to, the only way you can become your own person is by saying no to some of those things, right? And I thought, in the very beginning, I thought, oh yeah, this is, they're holding me back. If they were just more agreeable. But I realize now that because I faced all this resistance, because they were so disagreeable, because they were so tied to their old dogmas and the way we had to do things, that it pushed me, it gave me this kind of like a little jab, like I'm gonna show them, and actually pushed me to improve my own skills. It pushed me to invest in myself. It pushed me to get, on the weekends, I was like, I'm gonna show them. And I built things that I knew would make me proud. And to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of people out there who are in organizations where everything's kind of really comfortable. And that's why after years and years and years of doing things, they're not really innovating. I mean, I talk to people every single week, right? People jump on strategy sessions to see if they're a good candidate for my coaching program to learn interactive stories. And also if there's, where are they at in their, career, to see if they're actually, if there's something that I can help them with, what kind of things are they struggling with, right? And I got to tell you, I talk to at least one person every week who's been doing their job, and I've seen their work, and it's not good. And they're like, yeah, it's great. They don't even know. Like there's no resistance where they're at, and so they don't even take the time to look at the outside world and say, holy shit, I am like a decade behind. I'm not serving my learner in the best way. They don't notice because everything at their workplace is honky-dory. And so that, I gotta tell you, pushing up against the status quo, yes, it's unpleasant. And my God, that's just one of like many stories where I'm just like, seriously, I got like, you go home and you're like angry, you gotta vent to somebody, those kinds of instances. And that happens for a long, long time. It starts to grate on you. Like eventually I had to leave. But it was that made me want to do more. And persistently hitting up against those resistances was actually a good thing for me. And it actually helped me with my own rebellion. Now, not everybody can leave, right? Not everybody can forge their own way and be like, I'm going to move across the country, become a freelancer and do something, right? Which that's another story, and that didn't go as well as I thought either. But, and some of us have to You know, you're paying the bills, you're staying at this organization, you maybe work there and you love doing those things. And maybe change is happening a little bit too slow. You can still take time every night, every weekend to invest in your skill set, in yourself, and do the kind of creative work that makes you happy. Because I find a lot of people, what they do is they'll be stuck at work, they're battling that status quo, they maybe don't have the strength or the ability to push back, or they don't see the opportunities. They're kind of saying, I'm waiting for my boss to recognize this, or they're kind of in that childlike state where they're saying, my boss is my mom and dad, and I'm waiting for them to give me permission to upskill myself. I hear this all the time. I'm waiting for my boss to give me the budget so I can go take a course. Come on, right? Like basically you're absolving yourself of any responsibility, or that asking for permission, right? Like I see all those every time you go to a conference, they have these pages where you're like, it's basically you begging your boss to let you go, and they have this whole thing written up about how to feel sorry for you because, you know, I mean, I understand that's why those conferences cost, you know, so many thousands of dollars, is because it's never ever coming out of individual pockets. It's coming out of people who are, you know, you're like, hey, I know you have a big budget to blow. Can you just send me to Orlando? Like, let's do it, right? But imagine if instead of begging for something, you are now saying, I'm in charge. This is my skill. I'm an adult. I've rebelled. And I'm taking this skill set with me wherever I go. The other thing that happens is if you work in a corporation, 99% of the time, everything that you make is not even yours. So you could be working your butt off in a place for 20 years, then all of a sudden they furlough you or they downsize, and you're left with absolutely nothing to show for it. And guess what everybody's, you know, designing these days? Portfolio pieces, right? And now you got to start from scratch because you didn't invest in yourself while you had the opportunity, because you ended up doing something else, which is working really, really hard on a project, and you think that's going to be able to, you won't be able to show that, right? Nobody's going to say they were a great worker. You shouldn't wait on that. Don't wait on that. Have your own work to show for what you're doing. So for me, take the status quo that you're facing right now as the kind of resistance and agitation that is necessary for you to realize your own hero's journey, right? You can't have a really great story, right, if there was nothing wrong, if there was no challenge in the way, right? Luke Skywalker, he needed Darth Vader. Like any kind of hero, you need to overcome, right? And that challenge is what makes you grow, and that challenge is what makes you the person you end up being on the other end of that equation, right? So take the status quo as something, if you're facing it and you feel that resistance, embrace it and use it. Use that frustration, use the humiliation sometimes, and I've felt it so many times. Use the basically the, you know, questioning yourself whether you're the kind of person who's cut out for this. Use all of that as a positive to drive you to invest in yourself, do more research than anybody else, do more work than anybody else on yourself. As Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on the job. Because if you become this full stack, multifaceted and excellent person, professional, that job will come and go, but you and your skill set will stay, right? You and your resources, you bring that with you wherever you go. So make sure that it is counting for you. So work harder on yourself than you do on the job. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but I'm a hard worker. That's good. But can you take that with you? Everybody's a hard worker, right? Can you take that with you? So what can you do to build up your skills? So what I'm saying today is, this is my takeaway message. I used to look at those situations where I faced adversity and I thought that they would break me, and I felt like I was a victim and I felt like I had no control. But you do have control. At the end of the day, what are you going to do with those extra 4, 5, 6 hours that you have when you get home, or when you're home already, right? Some of us have no commute now, no excuses. That is the time to take the time and invest in you. Now, I have more, obviously more ways that I've overcome adversity, and I feel like they've made me a better person. And also I feel like they've made me a better designer, because I've now there's things that I explored that I never would have looked at if everybody just said, oh, that's good. I never would have pushed myself to seek out different places, to pull from industries that aren't in instructional design, right? Those are things that are very important. So if that resonates with you, I hope you let me know in the comments, because I do appreciate you actually being here and taking the time out of your day to hang out with me on my rant about the status quo and how it's actually a good thing for us, for those of us who really want to push the envelope, because it drives us. It'll fuel you, it'll make you angry, it'll make you push yourself, and sometimes it makes you sometimes put out your best work because you're trying to prove a point. And when I think about it, when I put out my demo Broken Coworker, which is about bullying, one of the reasons why I put it together and what fueled me and my partner Ryan is because I was so frustrated with the quality of work that I was getting and the quality of work that I was putting out. And I was pissed off that every single person who got in touch with me just wanted a fancy PowerPoint when I could do so much more. And when I offered them that, they wouldn't listen, because they couldn't imagine what could be done, because that's what the industry was really saying. That was the pinnacle of development at that point. In some cases, for a lot of people, it's still the pinnacle of development. That's fine. Let's leave those suckers in the dust. We're forging the way forward, right? We're saying no. But you got to do that strategically, right? So if you want to learn more about my journey, how I moved to instructional design from training and then got into freelancing and how that's gone, and then how I was able to leverage cool interactive story framework to actually do more creative work that I feel actually has impact in people's lives, then go to my webinar. It's free, it's on demand. It's 2 hours of awesomeness, right? And by the end, if you want to craft your own interactive story, you have all the tools, all right? So go to elearningsecrets.com, register there. Now, that webinar is currently on demand, but if you sign up and you don't have time to watch it, that's totally cool, because in the next couple of weeks, guess what? You'll be on my list. I'll be running live ones. So if you have a specific conundrum, if you have an interactive story idea you want to pitch by me, guess what? That is the perfect place to do it. So I'll be running some live ones very, very soon, and I hope you can actually join me. And I'll try and stagger them so that we can get people from all over the world to join. All right, so I hope you found that helpful, useful, maybe a little bit of a kick in the butt. I know a lot of us are going back to work and just, it's there. Don't worry, just be like, today I'm going to embrace it. Today I know all of you are going to make me better because of your resistance. Great. I love it. It makes me stronger. So have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Take care, friends. Bye.